Hey everyone, it's Carissa here from Lead with Purpose. Welcome to day 3 of the Culture Challenge. Today is all about knowing what you value. So it sounds really simple. A lot of the time people say, I know what I value. And so my response is normally, well, tell me, like, what are your top 5 things? And if we really know what they are, if we're really clear on them, we should just be able to rattle them off. This is what it is. A lot of the times, though, we've got a feel for what we think we value, but we don't really have a clear, concise idea of what those top 5 things are. And this is what I'm asking you to do today. Write them down. What are the top 5 things or behaviours that you value within your workplace? Once you have a go at writing them down, go back and see, is this aligning with your purpose and the key ingredients in your culture? All of these things should be in really clear alignment. The beauty of knowing what the top 5 things are that you value is that you can start talking about them. So before I've talked about the importance of not just being able to talk about tasks, but be able to talk about behaviours. And so if we want to be able to reinforce the things that we value as part of our culture, we need to talk about what our top behaviours are. This is a really key part of building the right culture within your team. People should know, not just from seeing the behaviours that you model on a day-to-day basis, but knowing through the things that you talk about. So do you praise behaviours? Do you give people feedback, whether it's one-on-one or in front of a group, on the behaviours that they've engaged in? Are you consistently reinforcing what are the behaviours you want to see people engage in a day-to-day basis? Knowing what you do value is awesome, but it's just as important to understand, what are the behaviours that I don't value? So what are the behaviours that actually don't align with the culture that we are trying to create? With culture, people are always looking to the people around them to really set a clear message or set the tone for what is acceptable within your workplace culture. So you need to make it really clear by the things that you talk about. These are the things that we do accept. These are the behaviours that we really value, because these are the things that are going to help us build our culture or work towards the culture that is going to support us to achieve the things that we want to be able to achieve. And equally as important is, these are the behaviours that don't actually align with what we value. These behaviours are not going to help us work towards the culture that we want to achieve. They're actually detrimental to that. So people are always looking to make sure that those behaviours are actually being addressed, because the messaging around that is really powerful, to know that the leader or the other people around them are setting the tone. This is what we value, this is what we don't, and we address the things that we don't value when we see them. So really, really important. And writing it down is just about making sure that you're really clear on it, but also put it up, stick it up on your wall, make it visible so people know. A lot of the times we think because we model the behaviours that we value, we just have an expectation that people understand what they are. They don't. It's like having our organisations or our company's values on a poster on the wall. It doesn't actually mean a whole lot unless you start talking about what those values are and what they look like in terms of the behaviours that we engage in on a day-to-day basis. What we talk about, the language that we use, is absolutely critical for building culture and building the right culture that is fit for us, fit for purpose in your workplace. So there's a couple of other key things with values. Once you know what you're really clear on what your values are, start having the conversation with other people. What do they value? What are their top 5? Is there commonality in the lists? do these things align? Normally what that means is it's a really good way for you to get buy-in from the people around you. This is what I value. If we have commonality, then you can see we're actually working towards the same thing. We want to create the same culture. It's a really great way to get people on board. It's also a really great way to get your team to start taking ownership of your values, the behaviours that align with that, and to really start creating that these are the values, this is the culture that we're creating for our team coming from within the group. That is really powerful when you don't need to be the person standing up in front of the group all the time, being the one that's setting the standard. You want the group to really be setting the standards for themselves. I could honestly talk about values all day, but I'll leave it there for now. So please really write them down, what you do value, what you don't value. Start the conversation, and once you start, really make a commitment to be really consistent around this, in terms of upholding those values for your group, within your group, and really starting a conversation around those things. There's a lot to gain from talking about knowing what we value and talking about it. So have an awesome day. I'll see you tomorrow for day 4.